Hi guys, and welcome to Katie's Insight, where I give my insight on all kinds of things, including news, business, finance, entertainment, and most importantly right now, stimulus, politics, and the election, because they're all married, because nobody cares about us. So here's what I want to get into today, guys. If you saw the title of this video, I want to explain what this means, and I'm saying $50,000 stimulus checks. What is this? There is a lot right now when it comes to stimulus flying around constantly. And what I want to talk about is something that looks like it's going to actually happen in regard to stimulus. And you can get up to $50,000. What am I referring to? So if you guys know right now, I'm sure you guys are aware, our president-elect, so says the media, is Joe Biden. There's still a ways to go. There's still time and still steps to be taken, as well as legal action that Trump is doing. But for the moment, the media called it, and this is what we are supposed to go with. So understand that's why I'm saying this. We really don't know who this person is yet, though. And Biden is really trying to work with the Democrats to get a lot of things done. Which, you know what, at this point, I almost don't care who's in office. I just want somebody who's going to fix things and help us, right? Well, as we know, stimulus talks are heating up. I feel like it's been, not even heating up, it's been a boiled over situation for months. And now Biden is scrambling because he knows things are not good and he needs to get in there and actually fix some things to have the public not just completely hate him on this situation. So Biden is proposing something that we've heard for a really long time. In fact, we heard it recently, which I'll go over in detail with you guys. And it looks like Biden, this is one of his big platforms, he wants to completely cancel student loan debt. And that seems to be one of his goals and his pillars. He has been talking about this lately. He's talked about a few plans, but he's also thrown his weight behind a plan that I will talk to you guys about from a couple of congressmen or congresswomen in the Congress, congresswomen in the Congress. Makes sense. A couple of representatives in the Congress. And basically, they're just wanting to waive all of that. And he's doing this under the banner of this will stimulate the economy. But will it? So we're going to get into that. And guys, you can get anywhere from like $10,000 to $50,000. Now, this video, I can't cover, you guys know me, I like to go real deep in the details. This one I probably won't be able to in the way that I want, so this video will probably have a couple parts to it. So just be prepared though, this is going to be kind of an ongoing, unfolding situation because we have been having Biden yelling, let's go ahead and get the student debt loan relief issues done. Now, before I begin, guys, I want to let you know I'm giving away a $100 gift card. Really simple to be entered. This is all you have to do. Like our video, subscribe, hit notifications, comment, share the content, boom. You're entered, you're eligible, that's all you have to do. Make sure and do it for every video you see, and guys, here's the new rule, the more comments you leave, the more chances you have to win. You leave 100 comments, 100 times more chance you're gonna get a gift card. I'm going to announce winners somewhere in today's video. I have 2 winners, so make sure and watch the videos from front to back to see if you won, and then I have instructions in the description. I will give them out when I call the winners. Yay, good luck to all of you on that. So there's that. And then also, guys, if you need more one-on-one stimulus help in your individual areas, go to my Facebook page. It's Katie's Insight. Like the page, join the group. The group right now is Katie's Corner. Will be changed to Katie's Insight soon. We are actually in there helping you on a one-on-one basis get more stimulus money. Shout out and much love to my cuz, British Gray. Guys, she's a moderator. She's in there constantly helping people try to find resources. We also have Rommel Graves. Hey, girl, hey. Actually, girl, get at me on Facebook. I want to talk to you because she's been fantastic in trying to help people too. Nobody's getting paid to do this. This is completely free for us and for you. We're all just trying to help each other because the federal government is failing everybody. Nobody's trying to sell you anything, but that's something that you can do. And it's a way you guys can support me as well by helping me grow things. Okay, so now I want to begin with a little bit of a story on this situation to let you guys know I have a couple of biases when it comes to this subject of student loan debt. And I have to kind of explain my thoughts on it to kind of get that out. So the first bias is I am somebody that was staring down the barrel of having those hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands of dollars in student loan debt. And I know how P-word it can be. Now, for those of you, I know we have a lot of boomers and greatest generationers. Hey, y'all, hey, in the audience. I'm going to explain from the millennial, or I guess Gen Xer, I'm kind of in the middle of that perspective, what our situations were like going to college. Because I think there's a very big generational gap in terms of the experiences people had. So with that being said, I want you guys to know I'm not anti-college whatsoever. I like the idea of higher learning on every level, but not if it's going to enslave people and make them have horrible lives for the rest of their lives because they're enslaved to debt they didn't understand. So I want you to think about this. By the time we go to school, guys, most schools, and you can actually, there is so much literature about how the school system is actually set up for people. It's there to basically turn you into a productive worker in society, and it gives you the caste system, right? So that's where you find out if you're blue collar, if you're going to be in an office desk job, if you're going to be an intellectual. And that's kind of what school ends up doing for people, is getting them ready for the workforce in whatever capacity or wherever they're going to land in that. And again, it's a caste system, in my opinion. So there's a very big narrative from the time I was very, very little, even in my home, that you are going to go to college and get a degree, you will not be a loser. There was this very big narrative back then. If you did not have a college degree, you were a loser that would go nowhere in life. That narrative from television, from teachers, from parents, from schools was shoved down our throats non-stop. And I bought it. Hook, line, and sinker. Number one, you guys know I'm a very driven person. I love what I do. I love these videos, and I love to grow this channel. And so I was so driven. I was somebody, I wanted to try to get 3 degrees in 6 years, which is kind of crazy because they're very different. I wanted to do child psychology, broadcast journalism, and vocal performance. Broadcast journalism, guys, is basically like being a television reporter. I did that stuff in high school, the broadcast journalism department. I was super good at it. And I won national and international awards for some of the pieces I did. I love that. Little did I know that was preparing me for my YouTube career. Funny enough. Vocal performance, I was a classically trained singer for many years, traveled all around, did lots of singing. So I was going for basically what you guys would understand as an opera degree, which I laugh at now because I'm like, there's no money in that. But this is stuff you don't know as a kid. And then child psychology, I was like, well, I'll just do this for fun. And this will be the one where if I can't make money, anything else, I can rely on this, not realizing I'd have to take years and years and years and years and years of school. And on top of that, I had all these other issues I needed to work out first before I could be psychoanalyzing other people. So I was a very driven person. And I bought this idea hook, line, and sinker. And you are just really pushed into, you have to go to college. Most of the people that I knew, even if you were a blue collar person, on some level went to at least a semester of college because it was so jammed down our throats, you are a loser unless. And what's funny is all of those people that were blue collar and they decided to go out and be electricians or plumbers or whatever, making bank, making 40, 50, $100 an hour. More power to you guys. You guys actually did the right thing. And the majority of the people like me who went to school, even though I don't fall into this category, and I'm going to explain why, we ended up getting in tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt before we can actually really understand the decisions that we're making. And we were being heavily influenced by outside sources who had no idea, like our teachers, our parents, people who didn't have any idea what the system was like. And we were told, go get this degree, you're going to make a lot of money, and then you'll pay back the loan fairly quickly. That didn't happen for anybody, And I always find it interesting, how is it that you can't, didn't they raise the legal age limit of smoking to 21? Got to be 21, and even back then you had to be 18. Got to be 21 to drink in this country. And funny enough, you guys know this when it comes to like places that rent cars. They won't rent you a car unless you're 25. Now, why is that? Because, by the way, I keep messing with my hair. There's some little hair like right in my eye line. And it just keeps being there. I don't know what to do. Sorry if I keep messing with my hair. It's driving me nuts. But car rent, there it is. Or maybe it's a floater. Do I have an eye floater? Those are so annoying. But, okay. Or maybe it's my eyelashes. Hold on. Maybe if I just do this with my hair the whole time. Hi guys, welcome to Kay's Insight. I'm gonna put on a headband in just a second. Stop this misery. I know my life's so hard, guys. But car rental places won't even rent you a car until you're 25. Why is that? That's odd. Don't you find that odd? I'll tell you why. It's because you are not a fully functioning, formed adult until you are in your mid 20s. Now, for everybody, obviously, it's going to land a little bit differently. For some people, you might have been an early or a later bloomer, depending. Some people have to go through, things, the toxicity of what they've been through in their life, work that out, and then sometimes those things open up. I think I kind of fell somewhere in the middle of those things, right? But here's why. Your brain's not fully formed and developed. Those areas of your processing centers to weigh cause and effect, right? To weigh, if you do this action can happen, and also the emotional control centers of your brains. Remember, we always talk about how being a teenager is such a horrible time. And I think I'm going to do a video about this at some point. I'd really like to break down why I think that is. And I know people can say, well, you have these, raging hormones and, you get upset about everything. But I think it goes more than that in a way that people aren't really looking at. You have to go through these hormonal shifts without having any real help or medical help balancing any of that out. And then all of a sudden that opens you up to a whole world where you now see that a lot of things that you grew up to believe are just complete crap. You kind of have, most people around that time have some type of awakening. For some people, it happens in maybe their middle 30s and they have that midlife crisis kind of thing. I think as well, that's kind of a similar concept to like the biological clock kind of coming in and saying, hey, you're kind of halfway through this. There's stuff you didn't do. Go do it. It's almost like an instinct. Like for some people like me, the instinct is you haven't had kids, go have kids. That, that can hit me sometimes. I'm not going to do anything with it because I don't think that's my path at this point. But, and I think for people who have had kids, sometimes it's the opposite. But my whole point is to say your brain is not fully formed and developed. And that's why there are several things that we make them wait at least until their early 20s. That's why we don't let kids and teenagers get married too early. That's another reason we have laws between when you can date certain people within certain age groups. That's part of it. I don't think those laws go far enough, in my opinion. Now understanding what I understand about how the human brain operates and where adulthood actually sits, but I'm sure you can understand where I'm coming from in that. So with that, here's what I'm curious about when it comes to these student loans. And this is where I side with the people in student loans. I side with them on this. If it is not legal to do all these other things, how is it legal at that age between 16 and 18 to sign paperwork for tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt that you're never going to be able to pay back and you have no idea because you've never been in the real world, the real world. That's the P word in my opinion. Now, I side with people, and I think because that was a very P word practice and the interest rates typically are so high, you're never going to pay that off. You are going, and I, like, for instance, I have a family member who'd complain about it. It's like a second mortgage every single month. And that kind of debt, guys, you can't file it away on bankruptcy. It never goes away. They can garnish your paychecks. It's a nightmare. So I think something should be done. I am 1,000% in agreement. I want to tell you a bias that I have, though, because I want to be real. So I'm telling you from being in that generation, I understand how people feel and I agree with it and I think something that should be done. However, I am a little salty and I'll tell you why. Here's my story with, going to college. I loved my first year of college. My first year of college focused mostly on the vocal performance degree. My first year of college I had paid. To make kind of a complicated and personal family story short, and I don't really want to get too much into it. Number one, wasn't allowed to go to the college that I wanted to go to in very sneaky ways that my family sabotaged. That was the first one, which was very difficult, but I thought, okay, let's make this work. And I don't want to go into any details about that, but then once I got to college, my first year was paid for, but I was convinced by family we were broke, there's no money, and if I continue to try to go to college, I'm going to basically leave everybody destitute. Now, there's debate on whether or not that's real. It's funny because as an adult now, and this is all personal family stuff I'm not really going to go into, understanding some more of how my family operates financially, I can understand both sides of that, if that makes sense. But I was 19 years old and we had a horrifically toxic environment that I grew up in and constantly feeling guilted about, somebody paying for college and that I'm making them destitute. And was I actually making them destitute? No. I think that being in the position I was in the family of the youngest and the toxicity, the majority of the people in the family, even some of the more decent people, they felt it was okay to take things out on me, and it just wasn't appropriate. I look back now and I'm like, to a 19-year-old kid who doesn't know anything, to put all of that pressure and guilt on me because I thought, oh, you're going to lose your house because of me. I didn't understand it. So long story short, I told myself you either get loans or you leave college. The other thing was I was trying to heal from the toxicity of my family, and I said, I don't want to have to rely on their support. I don't want to have to, I need to be able to set boundaries. So that's what I set out to do. And that's when I learned how insanely difficult it was in any capacity to even get a loan. Like in my case, both my parents made too much money for FAS at FPUC, and different things, even if they weren't helping me whatsoever. So, y'all, it was a mess of a situation growing up. And what's hard in my situation? I don't want to go too much into detail, but, I could be more sympathetic and understanding if I came from family that had addiction issues, or if they just came from really bad circumstances. They didn't. I just had two baby boomer parents who were spoiled to death. There's no nice way of saying that. There really isn't. I don't really want to get into it too much, but I wonder, I don't have much contact with my family, and I just wonder, how is it as a parent you can know your child is deathly ill and you don't care, you don't call, you don't try to... I don't get it. I don't get it. But these people are very different than me, hence why I keep a distance. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to get too much into my own stuff. I've learned on the internet, you want to try to keep things separate to an extent. You want to open up somewhat to a degree, but I also have to protect myself because people can be scary. Hold on. Getting crunk off H2O. So... gotta wet my palate. Or as it Michael says on The Office, stick it down your gut, fellas. Not your gut, your gullet. Stick it in your gullet. Remember the hot dog eating contest? I'm sorry, I love The Office. My new one now that I'm obsessed with is Craps Creek. Please infer, because I'm afraid if I even say the word, YouTube's gonna demonetize me. Craps Creek is that's my new favorite. I just watch that on repeat. I love Moira. Sound off in the comments if you like Moira Rose just as much as I do. Bebe. Me and I'm just going to call him boyfriend because I never know what to call him. Me and the boyfriend are always laughing and making fun of her. The bebe, yes. She's so funny. Anyway, so here's my bias. I tried really hard to get student loans. I tried really hard to get government help, and I couldn't. And when I figured out if I wanted to try to get loans, how much it was going to be, and not having a cosigner, all these different things, I'm going to be really honest with you guys. A lot of times I go with my gut on things. I go with my intuition. I'm a very intuitive person. And now you guys also have to remember, this was in the early 2000s. We're talking 2003, 2004, very early 2000s, okay? Things weren't great for the economy, but it's not like it's gotten to. I had this little voice inside me that said, don't take out loans. Do not get into debt. Your degree will be worthless. A lot of these degrees are going to be worthless, and they trap people. And that was this message I heard. The economy is not going to do well enough for you to be able to actually get back your return on your investment. And guys, even though I've always kind of been like a salesperson, I wasn't a big business person at that point. So this voice, this message came to me, and I'm like, what do I do with this? And you know what I did? I decided the best thing for me to do was to leave school and forge my own path. In the early 2000s, that was kind of the kiss of death socially, because you were the ultimate loser. You were the college dropout. And I went from being the high school superstar, right? I was winning awards all over the place, and my school would fly me out places. I'd win awards. I'd do these awesome things. I'd perform at Disney. I'd go travel around the world. And then all of a sudden, the college dropout. But that inner voice inside of me said, there's another path for me. And I need to take a road that maybe is less traveled or hasn't been at all. For me personally, I will never tell anybody else what to do, but that was one of the best decisions I ever made in my life. A few months later, few difficult months later, I met somebody online that owned 3 record labels and a film production company that lived in Paris and wanted me to help run everything. And I got to go there, and I got to travel around the world and sing and do films and work with a publisher. And that was my start in business. And I got to live in Paris for 2 years. The most amazing time. And not perfect, obviously, but it was amazing. And I'm very grateful for that. And that gave me my start. Here's why I'm a little bitter. I'm a little bitter because so many people looked at me like a piece of trash. Just like I'm a loser that's going to go nowhere because I didn't get a degree. And really, at the end of the day, except for my health issues, right? We can all argue that. But I financially have, in my career and where I'm at in life, get to come out on top because all these people are saddled with a ton of debt because they just blindly went with what society told them to do or what their parents told them to do. I'm very blessed in that I was courageous or crazy enough. And this, I think at this place, it would be, both courageous and a little crazy. To listen to an inner voice. I didn't understand what the economy was. I didn't understand any of the stuff I'm talking to you guys about now. But I do want to let you know, so I do have a little bit of a bias when it comes to this because a part of me is like, you guys made your choice and you were mean to me. Go pay it off yourselves. Like, you should have known what you were doing instead of just running around judging people. But at the same time, I've had to understand I'm different. I'm a different person. I just am. And just because I felt like I was hurt doesn't mean I should be supportive of other people continuing to be hurt in a situation where they were led down the wrong path. So I am all on the side of people getting student loan debt relief because I know how difficult that is. So I just want to be very clear. I do have some bias, but at the end of the day, I'm like, let's take my personal feelings out of it and let's help people that are suffering. That's always how I try to look at it, even if I'm a little salty about something. But yeah, and that's the other thing too. My generation I remember this thing as well. I would talk to people, I could talk to my parents, or I'd talk to people about getting a college degree. And I was like, well, why don't I just go and continue to take, opera lessons? Why go for a whole degree? Why do that? And this is what I would hear. We would hear this repeatedly. Well, even if you don't know what you want to do, having a degree at all is going to get you in the door of a really high paying job, just any degree. That's not a thing. And a lot of people, unfortunately, ended up not knowing what to do. And the saying, those that cannot teach. So they ended up becoming teachers and they make nothing. And look at the situations the teachers are in. It's horrific. It's absolutely horrific. And I pray every day for teachers and students because what else are we going to do? I know that's a little bit of a long story. I don't mean to make it that long, but I just want to be honest with you guys and what my thoughts are when it comes to student loan debt. Now, with that being said, Biden has been saying this is one of the first things he wants to do. He wants to create an executive order to basically be able to wipe away up to $50,000 of debt for people with some, restrictions. Now, can he do that? There is some debate on whether or not he can or can't do that. And will that be good for the economy? Because he's doing this under the platform of we need to stimulate the economy. Now, I want to pull up a little bit of information. Hold on. I heard the sound gets bad when I do that, but I don't want to have my computer in front of me the whole time. But I do, guys, want to pull up a little bit of information I found on this so you guys have a little more understanding. So here's what this says. This is from thepostmillennial.com. Never heard of it. It says, Joe Biden urged by Democrats to reduce student debt via an executive order. So it says some Democrats are calling on Joe Biden to take extra congressional measures to reduce student loan debt soon after he takes office. Biden campaigned on a limited plan compared to his former Democratic primary rivals to reduce all American student debt by $10,000 and the rest of the debt for graduates of public schools, does that make sense? And historically Black schools who made less than $125,000 a year, CNBC reports. Democratic Senator Elizabeth Warren, we'll talk about her in a minute, wrote a Washington Post op-ed outlining what, in her view, should be the priorities of a Biden-Harris administration. Within the op-ed, Warren advocated for canceling billions in student debt via executive action, canceling billions of dollars in student loan debt, giving tens of millions of Americans an immediate financial boost, and helping to close the, where you have different groups of people that things aren't fair, please infer, wealth gap. I hate that I can't say these words. I'm not a mean person, y'all. Just YouTube won't let me say certain things. This is the single most effective executive action available to provide massive consumer-driven stimulus, Warren wrote. We'll get to that in a little bit. New York Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez also urged Biden to enact an executive order for giving all student loan debt in an Instagram video Tuesday. No, it's not a pipe dream at all, Cortez said in the video. And most importantly, is that it can be done by executive order, which means Biden would not meet Mitch McConnell or the Republican senators to forgive people's student loans. I have mixed feelings on Ocasio-Cortez. I will be very honest. I'll tell you what my ultimate thinking is. I think she's well-intentioned. I think she really wants to help, and I think she's very young and naive. And I don't mean that to be mean. When I was her age, I was naive to things, right? There are things I'm naive to that some of y'all in your 40s and 50s know. I would like to think she's well-intentioned, but Lord, doesn't really grasp how the real world fully works and operates. But again, a lot of the Democrats don't. That Democratic mindset. Not you find people watching the crazies at the top. Experts have joined in on the proposition to mitigate or completely do away with student debt. Director of the project on blank student lending, the P word, student lending at Harvard Law School, Toby Merrill, says that it would be possible for the president to execute such orders. The Constitution gave Congress the authority to control property of the government, like debts owed to it, she wrote in a statement to CNBC. Congress granted the Secretary of Education, who works in the president's cabinet, the specific and unrestricted authority to create and to cancel or modify debt owed under federal stimulus loan programs, Merrill explained. Luke Herring, a PhD candidate at Yale Law School, argued that the president could certainly cancel student debt by collaborating with the Secretary of Education to simply stop collecting on student loans. Basically, it's like the power that a prosecutor has to determine whether to bring charges against somebody. The prosecutor might think that a person has committed a crime, but decided not to bring a case against them for whatever reason. Heron explains. A paper written by Heron further explains his theories of student debt cancellation potential. A study conducted by the Levy Economics Institute concluded that the relief of all student loan debt would result in the production of 1 million new jobs, an increase in national GDP by 0.5%. Very interesting. And we'll have to get into that later because some of this is a little bit refuted. President of the People's Policy Project, Matt Bruning, told The Hill that a student debt relief could be Biden's best chance at foregoing congressional approval for passing a stimulus. Bruning has also said that student debt forgiveness may perhaps be the least effective stimulus method due to its non-liquid nature. Interesting. A Wall Street Journal op-ed by Beth Ackers of the Manhattan Institute explained that a complete student loan forgiveness strategy may not have the desired effect on the economy, since those with the most student debt tend to have the highest paying jobs after completing expenses and prestigious degrees, while those with the least student debt may not have finished their degrees and the most likely to default on their loans. Thus, she says Biden should aim for his lower threshold of student debt forgiveness to maximize relief for those who need it most. So that's a little bit of information. And guys, we've had some back and forth with Biden. When I say back and forth, this is something that he says he wants to do, and he wants to do quickly. Here's the question though. This is kind of the concern for a lot of people. The question is going to be, is it really going to help the economy? And is now the time? Because there's a lot of studies, a lot of information coming out saying that in terms of what can actually help stimulate the economy, this is at the bottom. This is at the bottom of the totem pole. It's not to say I don't think it's important, but if we were to give money for this, we're going to get the least amount of return in actually helping the economy. Now, I want to go over to Elizabeth Warren because she had posted this, it was back in September, late September, so it was a couple months ago, and she's trying to introduce this idea and legislation to get basically student debt waived for people. So it says, so Chuck Schumer and Warren, the next president can and should cancel up to $50,000 in student loan debt immediately. Democrats outline plan for immediate action in 2021. From Washington, D.C., Senate Democrat leader Chuck Schumer and Senator Elizabeth Warren, members of the Senate Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions, the HELP Committee, and their colleagues introduced a resolution today outlining a bold plan for the next president of the United States to use existing authority under the Higher Education Act to cancel up to $50,000 in federal student loan debt for federal student loan borrowers. The resolution outlines how the president should use executive authority to cancel student loan debt and ensure there is no tax liability for federal student loan borrowers resulting from administration debt cancellation. That's another thing, guys. They're thinking that even if they were to cancel student loan debt, there's going to be a ton of taxes that these people can't pay back on it. You were talking 20-30% of your loan may be taxed. That's another thing that's there. This is not a cut and dry situation. So it says, Donald Trump and Republicans in Congress refuse to provide any immediate student debt cancellation for tens of millions of Americans, but Democrats will be ready to act starting in 2021. Joining the resolution are Senators Sherrod Brown, Richard J. Durbin, Bernard Sanders, Tammy Duckworth, Richard Blumenthal, Chris Van Hollen, Jeff Merkley, Edward Markey, and Cory Booker, and then Robert Mendez and Ron Wyden. Studies show that student debt cancellation can substantially increase Black and Latinx household wealth and help close the minority wealth gap, provide immediate relief to millions who are struggling during the pandemic and recession, and give a boost to our struggling economy through a consumer-driven economic stimulus that can result in greater home buying rates and housing stability, higher education completion rates, and a greater small business formation. Over 100 communities, civil rights, consumers, and student advocacy organizations have already come out in support of using executive authority to cancel student loan debt. I actually do agree that I think this would absolutely help the minority communities, 1,000%, and we need to do more to help make things financially equal in those areas. You know, it's funny, the more I get older, the more I feel like what we're really trying to fight in this world, a lot of these issues we end up having, we're having issues with poverty. At the end of the day, we can kind of circle it back to poverty. Education is supposed to be a ladder up, but for too many, the burden of student debt has become an anchor holding them down, said Leader Schumer. Massive student loan debt is exacerbating the historic and overlapping crisis of our country that it's facing, especially for communities of color, which have been hit hardest by the health and economic consequences of the virus. Our resolution lays out a way for the president to change that. Canceling student loan debt would help boost our struggling economy and close the racial wealth gap that has persisted for far too long. Even before the virus pandemic plunged our economy into chaos, student loan borrowers were already in crisis, said Senator Warren. The President of the United States has the power to broadly cancel student loan debt, help close the minority wealth gap, and give a big boost to families and our economy. It's time to use existing authority and permanently improve the lives of tens of millions of Americans. Congress has already granted the Secretary of Education the legal authority to broadly cancel student debt under Section 432A of the Higher Education Act of 1965, which grants the Secretary the authority to modify, compromise, waive, or release any rights, titles, claim, lien, or demand, however acquired, including an equity or any right of redemption. The Department of Education has reportedly used this authority to implement modest relief for federal student loan borrowers during the virus. So very, very interesting. And it says this resolution, and we're almost done, guys. It goes into a little more, though. It says, recognizes the Secretary of Education's broad administrative authority to cancel federal student loan debt under the existing authorities of Section 432A of the Higher Education Act of 1965. I didn't realize that we had legislation that said that the Secretary of Education could go ahead and cancel this. So what's Betsy DeVos doing? Curious. Calls on the President of the United States to take executive action on administratively canceling up to $50,000 in federal student loan debt for federal student loan borrowers, using existing legal authorities such as under 432A and any other authorities available under the law. Okay, so it also gives the President the powers, it's saying. Encourages the President of the United States in taking such executive action to use the executive's authority under the Internal Revenue Code of 1986 to ensure no tax liability for federal student loan borrowers resulting from the administrative debt cancellation. Okay, so it looks like they're saying there is a loophole to be able to get out of those taxes you might owe. Encourages the President of the United States in taking such executive action to ensure that administrative debt cancellation helps those minority wealth gaps and avoids the bulk of federal student debt cancellation benefits accruing to the wealthiest borrowers. And encourages the President of the United States to continue to pause student loan payments and interest accumulation for the federal student loan borrowers for the entire duration of the virus. Very interesting. And it looks like he could cancel it or he could pause it. Says, before the virus pandemic, millions of Americans were already confronting burdensome student loans, with the national student loan debt at a record $1.5 trillion. Now, as the economy confronts sky-high unemployment and crippling state, local, and school budget cuts have further depressed employment prospects. That debt burden is an economic blank sentence, not very good. And something else I was just thinking about, guys. What about these people that signed up to go to smaller colleges, got loans, and now these colleges are just completely done? They're out of business. What happens there? That's a scary concept, right? So it says student loan debt is hindering borrowers' ability to buy homes, pursue certain professions, and participate in any type of future economic recovery. All things that are true. And it has particularly pernicious impact to communities of color, which have disproportionately experienced its consequences. Amen. As the country grapples with unprecedented health, economic, and racial crises, our government must do everything it can to ease the burden. Broadly canceling student loan debt would be a game changer for millions of people in this country and a lifeline when they desperately need it. Thank you, Senator Schumer and Warren, for this initiative. It's time the president steps up to help the people and show some leadership on an issue that truly matters. It says Randy Weingartner, president of the American Federation of Teachers. Okay. So it's almost done, guys. Communities and families across the nation are feeling firsthand the pain of the economic crisis brought forth by the pandemic. With high levels of unemployment and with working people struggling to make ends meet, we must do everything possible to help families survive. Even before the virus, too many Americans, especially communities of color, faced crippling student loan debt that made it impossible to get ahead in life. The economic crisis has only exacerbated this devastating situation, leaving many choosing between paying their student loan payment or putting food on the table for their families. This is not right. Canceling student debt will provide some much needed relief to millions of people who desperately need this lifeline for this massive burden. Educators applaud Senator Warren and Schumer for their leadership and for putting people first as we address this crisis and help people recover from the economic fallout. Becky Pringle, president of the National Education Association. In March, Senator Schumer, Warren, Murray, Brown, and their colleagues unveiled a proposal to cancel at least $10,000 in student loan debt during the virus pandemic. Senator Warren has introduced legislation with the House Majority Whip James E. Clyburn to eliminate up to $50,000 in student loan debt for 42 million Americans, including private borrowers. There was a few things in here I wasn't aware of. So it looks like they have different clauses and things that can completely wipe out that debt. The tax debt, because that was one big argument that people have had. It's like, okay, well, you would still have to pay 10, 20, 30% of the taxes on that loan, and people don't have that. So I didn't know that there were clauses where you could actually go ahead and waive that. Now, there is some discrepancy, though. I'll tell you where the discrepancy is, and this is going to be for another video because I want to pull up a lot of facts, figures, and statistics for you guys to back up everything I'm saying. Here's the problem. Biden and company are wanting to do this based off of it will stimulate the economy. I think this is a fantastic idea and something that should have happened a long time ago. However, studies are showing, and what we're seeing with the information, the facts, is that this doesn't really help stimulate the economy. What would really stimulate the economy are things like stimulus checks, unemployment help. Those are the types of things that would really be PPP. Those are the things that would really be of benefit. While I know this would help release a big, large burden from people, this would not be something that would be helping our economy right now. My concern with somebody like Biden is this, and the Democrats at the top. They seem to not understand priorities. But again, that's all the government. I could say that the same thing with Republicans in some ways. But it seems like the Republicans evilly don't want to do anything for people, and the Democrats want to do things that don't help the people but spend our money. It doesn't make sense. So unfortunately, where I land with this is it's a great idea, but I think we have other things to execute first to help stimulate the economy and help people really, really in need. I kind of look at this both ways because on the one hand, people chose to go to school and they chose this. But on the other hand, they didn't understand what they were choosing at all. How could they? They weren't old enough to understand that. Are most banks outside of a student loan, are they just going to give a 16-year-old kid $100,000? No, they won't. So why is it okay? So again, I can kind of argue these points back and forth. And like I said, I'm a bit salty. And part of me is like, well, to people that, weren't very nice to me and looked down on me like I was just some, I was going to be some loser creep the rest of my life. You made a poor decision. But even me making the decision I made that based off of pure blind faith and my own intuition. It wasn't because I really understood what was happening. So again, I can be very compassionate to both sides of the argument. At the end of the day, I think we should do something to cancel student loan debt. I think there are other things we need to do first. So I would say, let's put this, I wouldn't say on the back burner, but let's not make this a focus. Just like Biden, one of his first executive orders is to make things more energy efficient. That one bothers me. And this is coming from somebody who's a huge environmentalist. We can't afford to keep our electricity on to even have that become an issue. And we can't afford to buy the new appliances you want us to buy. You see what I'm saying? That's the stuff that kind of concerns me, is where their wish list priorities are, which the Republicans always scream at them about. And the Republicans are right. But again, they don't want to help anybody, which to me is evil in its own right. Very evil. So basically, I don't like any of these people, and I don't know that any of this is going to work. But I kind of wanted to lay that out there and ask, what do you guys think? Do you think we should do one or the other? Because some people are saying it looks like Biden could have to choose stimulus checks, unemployment help versus student loan debt. Which one do you think is more important? Sound off in the comments. I would love to hear what you guys have to say. I think that's where I'm at with this one. Guys, if you want to help, ew, hold on. Ew, body's doing things. Silent burps. Sorry. Guys, if you want to help me out, please do me a big favor. If you like this video, please like this video. Give it a big thumbs up. Subscribe, hit notifications so you can be notified what's coming in the pipeline for you and your stimulus money. Sound off in the comments. Y'all know I want to hear everything. And guys, please share this content with as many people as you know that could benefit from this. People who have student loan debt, people who are on unemployment, waiting for unemployment, stimulus checks, SBA loan and grant issues, bill issues, everything in between. I've got tons of tools and tons of resources to help you during this very difficult situation. Would love nothing more than to help as many people as possible. And guys, the more you like, subscribe, comment, hit notifications, share the content, the more my channel grows, the more things I can do to get back to you guys. For instance, $100 gift card giveaway. So simple, this is all you have to do. Like every video you see, subscribe, hit notifications, comment, share the content. Boom! You're entered, you're eligible. That's all you have to do. Make sure and do it for every video you see. And guys, the rule now is the more comments you leave, the more times you share, the more chances you have to win. So you leave 100 comments, 100 times higher chance you have to win. Yay, good luck. I will announce winners somewhere in today's video, so make sure and watch to the end. Find me on Facebook, Katie's Insight. Like the page, join the group. Katie's Corner will be changed to Katie's Insight soon. We're helping people on a more one-on-one basis find stimulus money in your area for free. We're just all helping each other. So go in there, get help, or help somebody else. We'd be happy to have you. Okay, guys, I'll end this video for here now, but I have more coming down the pipeline. And again, we're going to dive more into this subject because I want to give you guys as much factual information as I possibly can so you know what's coming up for you. Okay, guys, thank you so much. Every time I sign off in these videos, I'm so tired right now, but I just feel so grateful and so humble. Thank you so much for allowing me into your hearts, your homes, your heads, and your poor bleeding ears for my chickmunk voice. I know what this sounds like. I live with this every day. And thank you for allowing me to give you this information. All I've ever wanted to do is be of service to people, and you've allowed me to do that. And I'm just, thank you so much for changing my life and helping my life become a blessing. And I will work as hard as I can to be a blessing to you guys too. Okay, guys, take care. Lots of miracles and blessings for everybody. Hugs and kisses. Bye, guys.